You are now tuned in to the multi-nominated, award-winning Game-Spitting Chronicles podcast, hosted by the homie Cuzzo. You BZ? It's the Chronicles podcast. 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 It's the Chronicles podcast.
Oh, yeah. Y'all already know what time it is in this motherfucker. Let's go.
Service's solemn mission is to protect our nation's leaders. On July 13th, we failed. As a director of the United States Secret Service, I take full responsibility for any security lapse of our agency. We are fully cooperating with ongoing investigations. We must learn what happened, and I will move heaven and earth to ensure that an incident like July 13th does not happen again.
Well, you can move heaven and earth from outside of the employment line, bitch. You're up out of here. Oh, yeah. You are up out of here. You did nothing to help solve this, to help bring forth more information to the American people. Bitch, you got to get the fuck up out of here. I was sitting at my place of employment and Pentagon Frank texted me, this is how I found out. And he sent me, he said, she's up out of here. I said, it's done. Oh, yeah. As it should be, though. She brought nothing to the conversation at that hearing. She can go and give interviews to the media, but when she sits in front of our elected officials, she doesn't have a motherfucking thing to say. Oh, yeah, she's got to get the fuck up out of here. Do I think we're ever going to get answers? No, I don't. I don't think we're going to fully understand what happened unless some serious heads have got to roll, shit's got to be declassified. I think it's a whole lot of steps that have to happen before the American people can understand and get the proper info as to what happened. But you have so many eyewitnesses that are coming out. You see so many videos now. You see the video from the ledge, the rooftop. More footage of the shooting is coming out. I mean, stuff's coming out. Christopher Wray came with a little bit more information, but that was mostly, about the drones and shit like that. But it's funny because, last week, I had talked about something. I had talked about Christopher Wray and this whole thing with the January 6th information that we still don't know. We still don't know that information. And it's funny because that was brought to the forefront again. I feel like I put things into the universe. I feel like I do. But let's hear what he had to say because he was questioned again about it. So, I don't know. Christopher Wray, when are we going to get answers?
How we can deal with real criminals and how we can have a proper security when we have events with so many people there. So, did you have confidential human sources? I think you never answered that question on January 6th in the Capitol. Did you have some?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Confidential human sources. Did you have them on January 6th in the Capitol?
Well, again, I'm never going to be getting into when and where we
Okay,
have have not used confidential human sources. But
Are you willing to stand the record that you had no confidential human sources that went into Capitol on January 6th?
as I've said consistently, I'm not going to get into where we have or have not used confidential human sources. I can tell you that if you are asking if the violence at the Capitol on January 6th was part of some operation orchestrated by FBI sources or agents, the answer is no.
No, I didn't ask you that. I asked, so did you investigate any confidential human sources? Did you do any investigation and looking at that? So you're not answering if you had any or not. So if you had potentially, did you do anything you needed to make sure to investigate that none of your sources did anything wrong? If they did wrong, they were prosecuted the same way, like you're trying to prosecute a lot of people that really, even in Supreme Court ruled recently that some unconstitutional charges.
Let me just add that there have now been, I think, 180 individuals who've gone to trial, in addition to the 850 who've pled guilty.
Right, but I think the problem is you put these charges, a lot of people would plead guilty. But let me say just quickly, because I only have 10 seconds, really. So I hope you will take seriously what you're doing. You know, related to the border security is also a crisis. You know, your vice president was a lead-in on that. Has she initiated meetings with you to lead, like weekly or monthly meeting where she actually get briefings from you as a lead-in border czar that had that function? Have you had that? Have she initiated any meetings on a regular basis with you?
Again,
Gentlelady's time has expired. The gentleman can respond.
Right. On this issue of confidential human sources, number one, I will say there is a DOJ OIG review that's underway that I think addresses some of these kinds of topics, I believe, but I won't speak for the Inspector General. Second, as to this suggestion, which I've heard all too many times, that somehow January 6th was orchestrated by FBI agents or sources, I will note that in addition to my prior comments, that there have now been 850-ish individuals who've pled guilty, another 180 who've gone to trial. They've all had access to defense counsel, discovery, all the things the Constitution and the rules provide them. It's been in front of something like 15 different judges, I think dozens of juries, and not one has given credence to this notion. And in fact, I don't think any of them have even really seriously tried to raise it. So it's not just my word for it. Look what's happening in the cases. Thank you.
The gentleman from Colorado is recognized.
But if that's the case, don't we have the right to know exactly what went on that day? I just happened to bring that up last week, and it came up in Christopher Wray's testimony this week. Again, it's simple yes or no questions at this point. You mean to tell me there's an investigation that's been going on now for 4 years? We might as well say 4 years, and we still don't know what the fuck happened? That's some bullshit. These are the simple questions that the American people deserve to know. Were there people on the ground, both inside and outside the Capitol? That's funny. Yeah. But were there people on the ground, both inside and outside the Capitol, on that day? If there were, and that's a yes or no question, if there were they there dressed as Trump supporters? Yes or no? And if they were there dressed as Trump supporters, let's just say, were they inside the Capitol dressed as Trump supporters prior to the Capitol being stormed? Yes or no? Those are the questions that I think the American people need to know. After that, after those yes or no's, we can get into the why. Because I feel like if you get yeses to those questions, that's going to open a can of worms. But it's funny because you won't see the audio I just played. Fair use, by the way. Oh, yeah. You won't hear other outlets, both on the left or the right, whatever you want to call it, conservative, liberal. You don't hear either side talking about this topic like I'm talking about and referencing this audio. Because I've been looking. I'm paying very close attention. But Christopher Wray also seemed a little odd when he got to talking about, his whole interactions with Biden with Matt Gaetz. I don't know. It just seemed a little odd. Y'all tell me.
Was the shooter on the FBI's radar in any way prior to the assassination attempt?
We did not have any information about the shooter. He was not in our holdings before the shooting. No
communication in any chat rooms, no CIs or confidential human sources have any interaction with?
No, we've run a thorough search for the subject through all of our holdings, and he was not in them anywhere.
Were there any FBI agents or informants present at the Trump rally in Butler?
Not to my knowledge.
And Mr. Jordan was talking to you about Iran. Were law enforcement resources diverted from the protection of President Trump to John Bolton as a consequence of concern that Mr. Bolton might have been the target of Iranian malign efforts?
That's really a Secret Service decision. I don't know the answer to that. That's really something they would know better. What I can tell you is that there are a number of individuals. You mentioned one who we've brought a case, a specific criminal case for the Iranians targeting for assassination. But how the
are you going to get that answer to us? Whether or not resources were diverted from Trump to Bolton, is that just going to be part of your review?
I think that's going to be part of the reviews by the inspector general.
The inspector general for DHS, right?
Of DHS, right. and the outside panel.
And I think that's an important point because the Inspector General for DHS has really fallen out of favor with the administration because he's been pointing out all the problems on the border with Mayorkas and Biden, and we're always kind of worried that they're about to fire him, which would be a really bad idea now that this role that you've identified is so critical. Be a bad idea to fire the IG for DHS during the pendency of this, right, Mr. Director?
I don't think that would be a good idea.
I'm with you on that. So I want to zoom out a little bit. How often do you brief President Biden?
You mean on this specific
just generally.
Case?
No, in your role as FBI director.
I mean, I don't know that I could give you a number.
Is it like weekly, monthly, daily?
It's not at a regular cadence. There have been times when there have been months at a time when I haven't, and then there have been times when several days apart I have. Okay. It's always with other people.
The vice president, is she typically there?
Often has been.
Okay, so when did you notice his decline?
In my interactions, in my role, all my interactions with the current president have been completely professional.
Right, but I mean the cognitive decline. I'm not saying he treated you unprofessionally, just maybe not picking things up as quickly as he used to.
Again, I don't meet with him very often, but what you're describing is not something that I've observed during my interactions with him.
I mean, we've had it observed so often that the ranking member and Mr. Schiff on this committee have said that he could no longer continue as a candidate. And so, since you're the FBI director, I was just sort of wondering, who's running the country? If something bad happened, you'd have to go brief President Biden about it right now? God forbid?
And on any number of occasions, I have briefed the president, and as I said, those briefings have all been uneventful and unremarkable.
Oh, I can imagine them being uneventful. But in the work where the vice president's also present, like you say, there's like more than half the time there's these briefings, she's there too?
I don't know if I'd said more than half the time. Certainly, there have been times where she's been present. There have been other times where she hasn't.
I take you at your word when you say this is the most complicated threat environment you've ever observed over a long career in law enforcement. And I'm just kind of wondering, with this assassination attempt, with the invasion at our border, with all the Hamas that have been let in that you've talked about and briefed about, like, is Biden up to it? And if he's not up to it, and you're a guy who's been regularly briefing him, like, who's been in on this conspiracy to hide the real Joe Biden from all of us for years? It never occurred to you that this guy wasn't up to it in all these briefings you did?
As I said, my briefings with the president have all been completely fine.
Were they between
briefed,
10 a.m. and 4
he's
p.m.?
asked questions. There hasn't been anything of note in the area that you're talking about.
Yeah, did you ever have to brief him before 10 a.m. or after 4 p.m.? We hear those are his good hours.
I've certainly times that I have briefed have included outside those hours.
Right. Okay. I just, I think the American people want to know how we got to this point with someone who's so diminished his own party has basically put him out to pasture. And since you had close proximity and the vice president had close proximity, I'm just kind of wondering if you were being straight with all of us about how things were going with him. I guess we'll have to figure that out.
You can count on me to be straight with you, sir.
We'll see.
He knows. He doesn't want to give the answers. It was professional. Professional has nothing to do with it. What are we talking about right now? So he was professional. What? Come on. And that's what I'm saying. We're going to get to the Biden thing shortly and Kamala Harris. We're going to get to them. But it just seems like people aren't being honest in our government. People don't trust the government. And this is why, from what the prior Secret Service director, the head of the Secret Service, said before she resigned to Christopher Wray, it just seems like there is not full transparency and honesty in government. I never expected it to be, but we have to have some form of transparency. If you guys aren't giving us information and details, that is how conspiracy theories, as they call them, and all these ideologies and wackos and all this is how they uprise on the internet. He even had testimony saying that he wasn't sure himself if Trump got hit with a bullet. You can't make this up. I said, what? That's where we're going now. That's where we're headed. To a point where he's making determinations about the president's ear. I want to know, how did we get here? How did we get to this particular point where nobody believes anything and this is what we say?
I think with respect to former President Trump, there's some question about whether or not it's a bullet or shrapnel that hit his ear. So it's conceivable. Although, as I sit here right now, I don't know whether that bullet, in addition to causing the grazing, could have also landed somewhere else. But I believe we've accounted for all of the shots and the cartridges. So let us.
So what are you saying, motherfucker? Because it sounds like you didn't believe it, you did believe it, you don't know, bullet, shrapnel. What do you know, motherfucker? Come on. If the motherfucker was hit with something, he was hit with something. We've got to figure this out. You're the FBI. Go talk to his fucking doctor. He's the victim. He's part of a fucking investigation, right? This is ridiculous. We have to get answers. I said this last week. I'm saying it this week. I'm going to say it every week. We have to get answers. This is what our taxes go to. We run the government. We, the people, run the government, supposedly. We are electing and paying these politicians. We deserve fucking answers. Did you see Biden's speech yesterday? Oh, it was truly a shit show. Oh, yeah. Whoever set that whole thing up set Biden up for failure. I'm sorry. Biden looked stale. His hands, he doesn't even look like he could make a fist in that video. They had the teleprompter all off. Biden's not even making eye contact with the camera. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Come on, man. And I swear, I got to look at the video. I've looked at the video about 3-4 times, but I swear when you look in the background, some of that background looks fake. I'm just saying. I just wonder, do they got a prop set for the White House that's not actually at the White House? It's a prop set that they can use, because that shit didn't look too real. I'm sorry. It looked kind of phony. And the shit looked pre-recorded. It did not look like it was live. It looked like they pre-recorded it and they just threw the shit up there. You know how you could do a live stream, how you could program a live stream for you content creators and you can air a pre-recorded live stream? That's what it seemed like to me. And I don't want you motherfuckers telling me about how Trump lies all the time. Okay, Trump says some definite goddamn mistruths like a motherfucker. We can acknowledge that. Oh yeah. A mistruth is a lie. But Biden was selling wolf tickets that whole fucking thing. He was selling wolf tickets. Really? No cap. You can't make this up. He did it the whole time.
Today we have the strongest economy in the world, creating nearly 16 million new jobs, a record. Wages are up. Inflation continues to come down.
Did you hear that? Yeah. That's what he said. You guys can't afford groceries. Groceries are ridiculous. You'll go to Walmart and pay $150 and walk out with 10 to 12 items. And he's telling you we have the strongest economy cooking. Make it make sense. It doesn't make any fucking sense. But he's not done yet. He had more for you.
Crime rate is at a 50-year low. We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office. I've kept my commitment to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America.
The border security said. That's what he told y'all. Folks, I don't know what's going on with Biden. I have no idea. I don't. The Daily Mail had an article with someone from the press that had gave an exclusive, and you know the whole thing where it started in Las Vegas, them saying he had COVID. The way she worded her story, I believe it's a female, but I'm gonna post it in extra media. The way, oh yeah, it just says why she feared for him. But the exclusive says Biden was deathly pale. Air Force One was flying so fast I felt sick. Daily Mail reporter on board reveals the incredible inside story of the mad rush to get Joe to COVID isolation. And why was he in? He was shaking hands, hugging people, sitting, giving interviews. Why was he rushed to isolation? Remember, COVID's not even that serious of a thing now. COVID's getting treated like the flu now. Yes. But she details how before he came out, there was I guess a little window, and they covered the window with a towel and where they couldn't take pictures. And then when he came out, he was pale. And I guess amongst the press, they were all saying, ooh, he don't look too good. So then something happened and they announced he's got COVID, and then they rushed and got on Air Force One and they bolted back, and they said the plane was flying fast as fuck. Now, there were reports online going on that, you know, he had a big scare last week and there weren't too many details. Las Vegas PD were some whistleblowers out of there were saying stuff, but this is the first official detail that we got. And it's like, you know, it doesn't add up unless something was seriously wrong. It's like all this for COVID. And then they wouldn't let him, I guess they wouldn't let the press anywhere near him on the plane. It's just, I don't know. I have no clue, but the whole shit just seems very fucking sus to me. But Biden's up out of here. He gave a long ass speech of 12 minutes, which fucking felt like eternity. And he said he's going to spend the rest of his presidency campaigning for Kamala and trying to, I don't know. He's a lame duck at this point. I don't know what he's going to do for the next. Why is he even still president? It's obvious he can't do the job. It's obvious. We gotta start being honest. That's not being honest. Why are y'all letting Joe Biden still do this? He should not be doing this. This isn't fair to him, and it's not fair to the country. But he endorsed the new candidate. And boy, does everybody love that new candidate, man. Kamala's in the house. She's in the house. Y'all motherfuckers love her now. 3 weeks ago, she was polling worse than Biden. She was unpopular, unfavorable 3 weeks ago. Now she's magically undeniable. She said she was going to earn the vote. I guess earning the vote was making a few phone calls and having Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and them help you out, and then all the delegates magically are backing you. I guess that's earning the vote, apparently. Oh, yeah, that's the new shit. Yeah. All you motherfuckers talking about Obama wasn't backing her and all that. They just came out with a report today. Obama's expected to endorse her pretty fucking soon. Well, you motherfuckers that wanted a selection, you didn't get what you wanted because they went straight to Kamala. Oh, yeah. I mean, and to be fair, if we're keeping it a buck, she's the VP. She's the next up. But this fakeness that I see going on social media and on the mainstream media, because they love her. Oh, they're clapping and everything for her. They love her now. I don't get it. 3 weeks ago, right? What a difference 3 weeks ago makes, or 3 weeks makes in this process. Now, we know that she's the going to be the person. Unless something horrible goes wrong and they change their fucking mind again. Yeah. Oh yeah. But let's listen to Chuck Schumer. Because he said, we've got to throw our support behind her. And then nobody clapped but him.
Now that the process is played out, from the grassroots bottom up, we are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
Oh, gosh. Then you have Hakeem Jeffries coming in there talking about she earned it from the grassroots, from the top down. No, she was appointed, motherfucker, but hey.
Thank you, Leader Schumer. Joe Biden is a patriotic American. Joe Biden is a heroic American. Joe Biden is a great American. Joe Biden will go down in American history as one of the most consequential presidents of all time. President Joe Biden has made the selfless decision to pass the torch to Vice President Kamala Harris, who is ready, willing, and able to lead us into the future. Kamala Harris and her candidacy has excited and energized the House Democratic Caucus, the Democratic Party, and the nation. Vice President Harris has earned the nomination from the grassroots up and not the top down. She is ready, she is willing, she is able to energetically and emphatically lead America into the future. Kamala Harris is a common sense leader who knows how to deliver real results for hardworking American taxpayers. Kamala Harris is a courageous leader who has worked hard throughout her entire career to keep our communities safe. Kamala Harris is a compassionate leader who will build an affordable economy that makes life better for everyday Americans. Kamala Harris will fight for our freedom. Kamala Harris will fight for our families. Kamala Harris will fight for our future. I'm proud to strongly endorse Kamala Harris to be the 47th President of the United States of America. We're going to hold the Senate. We're going to win the House. We're going to elect Kamala Harris as our next president in November.
Well, what has she been doing all this time then? Lead us into the future? What? What has she been doing all this time? It seems like there's been a whole lot of shenanigans going on. But hey, I mean, she's got to be as intelligent and as intelligent and intellectual as everyone says, right? I mean, I know she's got to be amazing on foreign policy. Let's see what she knows on foreign policy. I accidentally hit the mute button. Too soon, nigga, too soon. But let's hear what she has to say. What is going on with the Ukraine and Russia war, Kamala? Tell us about it.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
Sounds about right to me. Oh, gosh. Did you see how they tried to change up this whole notion that Kamala was not the border czar, that she wasn't in charge of the border, knowing damn well that was her main focus as vice president? That was her job, the border. Now you look on TV, they're backtracking, saying that never was the thing. She never was in charge of the border. What? What the fuck? Yeah. The beauty of it, though, is that the internet is undefeated. So when you sit up here and you have the old video and you can relate it to the new video, this is what the fuck you get.
She was Joe Biden's border czar. She wasn't. She was never put in charge of the border. She was given a much more limited assignment to lead a so-called root causes diplomatic effort trying to address the reasons in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras that people choose to migrate. Now, many Republicans scoff at this kind of fact check. They're like, there were a bunch of articles back in 2021 that called her border czar. Frankly, those articles were wrong. And if you look at CNN's own coverage, not to toot our own horn, but you'll see that the White House and Harris's office consistently, as early as early 21, pushed back on that framing.
Quote unquote border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case
case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.
One other topic I wanted to talk to you about, but let me just quickly put a button.
Okay.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
I'm here in Guatemala today. At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
Well, I mentioned it because I know Republicans have certainly come at you on this, but Democratic Congressman Cuellar has a border district, has said to you and the president, come. You need to see this.
Listen, I care about what's happening at the border. I'm in Guatemala because my focus is dealing with the root causes of migration. There may be some who think that that is not important, but it is my firm belief that if we care about what's happening at the border, we better care about the root causes and address them.
Well, it's Joe Biden. How are you, Joe Biden?
Hey there, folks. Oh, Kamala, not sure if you heard, but I'm putting you in charge of solving a little immigration problem down at the Mexican border.
Yes, I did hear that. Wow. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah. Such a fun, solvable problem. And what are you in charge of?
Moi? Giving out checks. Who wants stimmies? Woo!
Now Vice President Kamala Harris is stepping into a new role, taking the lead on the immigration crisis.
Within months of taking office, Vice President Harris was assigned the difficult task of the border, checking in with Central American governments and trying to get to the root causes of immigration problems in the United States.
It has been 91 days since President Biden named Harris as the administration's border czar. Republicans have heavily criticized her for not visiting the border since then, though she has made other trips to places like Guatemala.
As the border crisis escalates, President Biden is putting the vice president in charge.
When she speaks for me, doesn't have to check with me. She knows what she's doing.
The work will not be easy. But it is important work.
I want them shut down. I want them silenced. I want them muted.
And there you go. But you're gonna have people say, but Cuzzo, that's hearsay. Just because the media said it doesn't mean it's true. And you're right. Biden was the one that gave her this position. But you guys are gonna say it again because Biden, when did Biden say that? Oh, okay. We'll cue that up for you too. Here's Biden with the appointment.
Asked her, the VP today, because she's the most qualified person to do it, to lead our efforts with Mexico and the Northern Triangle and the countries that help. We're going to need help in stemming the movement of so many folks stemming the migration to our southern border. So this new surge we're dealing with now started with the last administration, but it's our responsibility to deal with it humanely and to stop what's happening. And so this increase has been consequential, but the vice president's agreed, among the multiple other things that have her leading, and I appreciate it, agreed to lead our diplomatic effort and work with those nations to accept the returnees and enhance migration enforcement at their borders. We're already talking with Mexico about that. She's already done that. We're going to be dealing with a full team now that we have to be able to deal with the problem here at home, but also to deal with it now in terms of in country. It's not her full responsibility and job, but she's leading the effort, because I think the best thing to do is to put someone who, when he or she speaks, they don't have to wonder about, is that where the president is? When she speaks for me, doesn't have to check with me, she knows what she's doing, and I hope we can move this along. So, Madam Vice President, thank you. I gave you a tough job, and you're smiling, but there's no one better capable of trying to organize this for us.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and for having the confidence in me. And there's no question that this is a challenging situation.
As the president has said, there are many factors that lead president to leave these countries. And while we are clear that people should not come to the border now, we also understand that we will enforce the law, and that we also, because we can chew gum and walk at the same time, must address the root causes that cause people to make the trek, as the president has described, to come here. Needless to say, the work will not be easy, but it is important work. It is work that we demand, and the people of our countries, I believe, need to help stem the tide that we have seen. So
I always come with receipts. So the media is running cover for Kamala, because I saw the rush of it today saying that they never called her the border czar. She was never that. She was never in charge of that. Now you guys have the facts. You even heard the actual press conference where Biden said that, and she spoke afterwards, and she did nothing for the border. We don't know how many people have came illegally. Some say it's 9, some say it's 10. Some people are estimating up to 15, over 15 million have crossed since Biden has taken office. Nobody fucking knows. But we have to sit up here and be prepared, and we have to inform ourselves and inform our friends and loved ones. You have to get the information, because decisions are important. And we're going to be digging into Kamala, because they're going to run cover for her like they just have been doing. But we're going to dig into it. This Trump Kamala is just getting started, and Cuzzo's here for the shenanigans. Oh, yeah. Sexual chocolate. Oh, yeah. We got to get back to it, man. You know, I like sexual chocolate, but we got to talk about it. The whole situation with the Crowdstrike happened recently. People were just now getting things back up and going with that. That was a big hit to our system. They're blaming test software for taking down 8.5 million Windows machines. Then on top of that, just 2 days ago, we found out hackers leaked documents from the Pentagon, IT provider Leidos. Hackers have leaked internal documents stole from Leidos Holdings, Inc., one of the largest IT service providers to the U.S. government, according to a person familiar with the matter. The Pentagon, the Department of Homeland Security, and NASA didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. All those were affected. And you have Crowdstrike, which deals with banking systems, the airlines. It deals with so many facets of our everyday life. Folks, are we being attacked? I've got to pose the question. I feel like there's a whole lot of posturing going on. Crowdstrike affects so many systems that our country deals with. I asked Twan, shouts to Twan, we got to give it up for Twan. You have to, because he's so pivotal when it comes to things like this and overall general conversation. So we look and we have to understand that we could be being attacked. Cyber attacks. All kind of stuff to fuck with the infrastructure of the United States of America. I mean, we're going to circle back to this, but if you're going to be under attack, if I'm going to be under attack, then you know what we have to do. We have to go get our fucking can't complain goodies from needleandthreadsco.com, baby. You got to. I would rock my can't complain shirt even in the middle of being hacked, you dig? I mean, if we're all going to shit, you got to go out to shit in style. That's what I tell them, Twan. Oh, yeah. And remember the promo code Chronicles for 15% off at checkout. That's Needle and Threads Co. NeedleandThreadsco.com. But I circle back like a drive-by to make sure the job's done. But are we under attack? Crowdstrike also, the Crowdstrike attack that nobody's talking about still. I'm pulling up the Cuzzo 5000. The outage had an impact possibly on election systems. Now, I wonder why. Maricopa County could have possibly been affected. They posted something on social media about it. Arizona election systems could have been affected. So could this have been part of a bigger play? Because we think with the CrowdStrike thing, we think of, the banking systems, the stuff we need for medical, for our medical systems, for the airline systems, but so many other things could have been affected. Was this by design? And that's why I tell people you have to be prepared. We need to start making sure that we're prepared. And for you people in Alaska, I've got to tell you, you've got to especially be prepared. Because just the other day, Norad intercepted 2 Russian and 2 Chinese bombers flying near Alaska. I live in Alaska. This was Wednesday. This was the first time in history the 2 countries have been intercepted while operating in the air together. What was the reasoning for that? Are they testing out our defense? Are they testing out our reaction time? Folks, when it comes to Biden, when it comes to Kamala, when it comes to Trump, our country's in disarray right now. You saw also the riots or the protests that turned partially violent. They spray painted the Capitol. They spray painted areas of the Capitol, dyed the water to make it look like blood, while Netanyahu gave his speech to Congress. Kamala wasn't even there. Her and Biden, neither one of them greeted Netanyahu when he got off the fucking plane. Big fucking deal, right? Big fucking deal, you think. One of our biggest allies, whether you agree with it or not, get off the plane, you have to fucking greet them. But our country's in disarray, and the world is watching. Our enemies are watching. Our allies are watching. And when I saw when I heard about the Russian and the Chinese bombers flying near Alaska, I said, oh, they're really starting to push the line now. They don't give a fuck. They already don't respect Kamala and Biden in office now. Why the fuck would they respect the Kamala presidency? I'm going to say something that a lot of people aren't going to think is too popular, but a lot of people running these countries won't necessarily respect a woman leader. And I'm just being honest. I know some people don't want to hear that, but it has to be said. Some people don't respect a female leader of a global power. China might not respect that. Russia probably isn't going to respect that. Iran probably isn't going to respect that. And folks, we're dealing with multiple situations across the world right now. So we're going to start breaking this down more. Since Kamala's officially in the race, we're going to be talking about her record and stuff in the upcoming weeks. But Crowdstrike, hackers, all these things I feel like are correlating, and our enemies are testing us. Twan's a verified hacker, and he said he even thinks it's something more to it. So you got to sit back and breathe.
Breathe air.
And take it all in. Because there's more to come. Y'all remember, man, you can only be as prepared as you are preparing. You have to be prepared. You have to make sure everything's good to go. Cell phones aren't guaranteed to work forever. The bank isn't guaranteed to hold your money forever. A hacker could hack the system and your shit could go from $20,000 to zero in the snap of a finger. So you need to start thinking outside of the box of things you can change. Y'all remember needleandthreadsco.com. Chronicles, get 15% off at checkout. This is your boy Cuzzo. Y'all remember to get goals accomplished, man. Get goals accomplished. I'll see y'all next week. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. We're just getting started. Like I said, this election's going to have ups and downs. This has been the most amazing 2 weeks in American history, and I feel like we're only getting started. So you could be anywhere else getting this information, but you're here with me. You know why?
I'm better than you, and you know it.
All those other content creators don't give it up like we do here at the Chronicles. This is your boy Cuzzo. We up out of here. Make sure y'all check out the extra media for that Daily Mail scoop. I'll holla.
Yeah.